Video, I'll discuss 5 or so things that you might not know about seed stitch. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. Seed stitch is a stitch pattern in knitting, and there are a few things that maybe you didn't know about seed stitch. Seed stitch, also called moss stitch in the UK, is worked over 2 rows with a multiple of 2 stitches, and you work an alternating row of knits and purls, and then in the following row you work the opposite, and so you are stacking knits and purls on top of each other. So it produces a textured fabric that is very nubby. It's a great fabric for dishcloths because it has such great texture. So this is also called moss stitch in the UK, but moss stitch in the US is something different. It's a 4-row pattern, not a 2-row pattern. Keep this in mind when using patterns from the UK, and just pay attention to what they define the stitch pattern as. When worked flat over an odd number of stitches, the written directions for all rows in seed stitch is the same. You'll work a knit 1, purl 1, repeating, and then end with a knit 1. And the second row will be the same as the first. So no matter what row you're on, if you start with a knit stitch, you will always start with a knit stitch. The 2 rows are different when worked over an even number of stitches or in the round, however. Because you are alternating every stitch between a knit and a purl, your hands can get tired, especially if you are using the English method of knitting. Switching up your knitting style might help with this hand fatigue. As you can see, the fabric lies nice and flat with seed stitch. Those alternating knits and purls help to keep the fabric flat. The selvage edge is nice and flat and does not curl. And you can easily get straight sides. The gauge in seed stitch, when worked at an appropriate tension, will be a bit tighter than regular stockinette stitch. Both your stitch and your row gauges will be slightly tighter because this happens because the knits and the purls stack across, creating a slightly snugger fabric, and the same for the height. The knits and the purls are stacked height-wise, which draws in the row gauge as well. Seed stitch ideally has few or no holes in between the stitches, as in this fabric sample. There are no glaring holes in between the stitches. Take care to maintain good tension when working your seed stitch in order to eliminate those holes that can crop up in between your stitches. I have a video talking about tension problems, and some of the techniques in that video, I'll link it above, will help to improve tension in your seed stitch if you are finding holes in your seed stitch. When binding off in seed stitch, it looks best to bind off in pattern. Creates a nice flat bind off edge. So to work the bind off in seed stitch in pattern, you work what would be your next row of your seed stitch pattern as you bind off. So if a purl stitch is presenting, you will knit it. If a knit stitch is presenting, you will purl it. So those are 5 or a few more things that you maybe didn't know about seed stitch. Did you know some of these? Were there any that you didn't know? Let me know in the comments below. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.